going on, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Nerdwide podcast. A little bit different for you video watchers here on the podcast. This is episode 165. I'm your host, Tyler Haynes, with my good friend and also invisible co-host, Chris Rivers.
Tyler, I can honestly say we have never looked better.
I could not agree with you more here. I've got a little blue screen on mine. You've got it's like a, I don't know, magenta, like rose color on mine, but you've got your profile picture up. For those of you who don't know, last week my camera fried, and so I cannot be on video. This week, Chris is having some leg and lower back pain, so he's having to sit in all these different crazy positions upside down and holding his mic, so he's not able to properly record. So that is what you're seeing here if you're here. But for your audio listeners, nothing new. Everything's fine.
No, everything's good.
Chris, how has your week been?
I've been pretty busy. I've been dealing with this pretty much all week, so not good in that sense. But I watched a few things. So
we get to talk about it too. I haven't watched hardly anything. Basketball came back this week, so I watched it. And then just our normal business. Work's been real busy. Supposed to get back to normalcy this week, so I don't have to worry about things like that. But that all being said, well, it's also Halloween week. Our last technically week of our Halloween Horrorthon that we've done for 2 months straight. So very exciting.
Yeah. Super exciting.
Listen, I want to talk about it. I don't want to do a whole bunch of fluff, so I want to get straight to the housekeeping, and then I want to get right to Agatha all along, because what a damn good episode this was. And I'm already going to gush all over it, so just be ready. But before we get there, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube or podcasting service of your choice. If you enjoyed the show, make sure you leave us a thumbs up on YouTube or give us a good rating for whatever podcasting service you do use. If you don't enjoy what you see or hear, make sure you just leave us a comment down below and let us know how we can improve the show. If you miss our faces and everything, leave us a comment. Also, just send me some money so I can get a new camera, because that's just what it is. Unless I can figure out some jankety way to fix this one, but who knows. Chris, TV-wise, have you watched anything?
Blue Bloods came back, so I've watched an episode of it.
Oh, it's season 83 or something like that?
It's the back half of season 14, the final season.
Oh, wow. Well, see, I made a joke and I didn't realize it was accurate. So, here we are. Listen, Agatha All Along, episode 7. We're going back to Deadline.com by Katie Campione for the recap. And I am here to tell you this was by far the best episode they've done. Full-on spoilers. So if you don't want to listen to this, just skip ahead, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes, because we're going to talk about this one. They have set up everything that throughout every single episode, and we had no idea they were setting it up. And it's so damn cool. We finally get the giant reveal that I got spoiled to me on episode 3. And then I called Chris that following episode because we talked about it. And they finally set it up. Aubrey Plaza, a.k.a. Rio, is Death. The big cosmic entity Death. So now we have had, in the MCU, 2 of like the 6 cosmics. There's no one bigger or stronger than any of these people. They are immortal. There's nothing you can do with them. Death is one. And the other one comes from Chris's favorite MCU movie, Thor, Love and Thunder, with Eternity at the end. If you remember, it's the character Christian Bale, Gore the God Butcher, was trying to do. He's trying to bring his daughter back. And that's where they met Eternity. And at the very end, Eternity didn't do anything, but just sit there and look. So...
Right.
The Watcher is also one of these cosmic beings. Well, I guess technically 3 if you count the What If series. So we've met the Watcher as well.
So I'm just glad that one of the Eternal Beings is not the Laughing Goats.
Oh, the Screaming Goats were great, Chris. Just every 5 minutes in that movie was a screaming goat. So why not?
Yeah.
Listen, I want to get to this episode. I'm gonna get to the recap, and we'll stop as we go because there was so much that happened in it, and I felt like this episode just kept going and going and going, and sets us up really nicely for the last two episodes that happens this week, which I advise everybody to watch it as soon as you possibly can, and to stay off of social media because I am expecting some huge big bomb drops at the end of the season. So, without further ado, let's get into this. Lilia is falling when she first appears on screen wearing a pink gown and a crown, dressed much like the Glinda the Good Witch. No, whoa. Is that right? That's not where we started off. I guess that's what that was to start. Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right. As dressed much like Glinda the Good Witch, but that's all for now as the scene fades to Agatha and Billy trekking down the road again. Okay, yep, you're right. We see her falling and then it switches over.
Mm-hmm.
Agatha is trying to taunt Billy into talking to her, but all she gets out of him is, "Where's Rio?" A valid question as Aubrey Plaza's Green Witch has been missing in action as well. Agatha deflects the answer. "Any other queries of your old babysitter?" she says. "I'm your mom's ex-best friend." Now, if you remember, Chris, we talked about early on in this show that Agatha was Wiccan's babysitter. And at one point, Mr. Fantastic and Sue Storm's kid as well. And so that was a nice little Easter egg here about the babysitter bit.
What do you think it meant? Because when she said ex-best friend, she actually pauses between ex.
Yeah, so I'm very curious about that too. There were a lot of Agatha did a whole bunch of that double entendre innuendo kind of sentences throughout this whole episode, and there's a lot because I'm very curious to it as well, and you have to catch on to them because it's a very brief pause, and like we've been saying, MCU doesn't do anything just for giggles. So he shoots another tough one at her. Is Wanda Maximoff really dead? Yes, no, maybe. Agatha replies coyly. Another one of those pauses. So,
yeah, and I almost wonder if that was done so that, you know, how sometimes they'll write stuff so that even the actors don't know how it's going to be used.
Right.
So maybe they wrote it so that if they decided to say yes, then they had it. If they decided to say no, they had it. But in this case, they just left them all in.
Yeah, that's a good point. Oh, that's actually really cool if they did it that way. Agatha claims that she saw a body, though she's not sure if anyone else did. Soon, they're next upon the next trial as they spot an eerie mansion looming ahead. Billy is still having a hard time trusting Agatha, and he says he's begun to question whether she's ever walked the road at all. As they walk through the doors of the mansion, their clothes transform once again. Agatha is dressed as the Wicked Witch of the West, green skin and all, and Billy dons horns much like those of Maleficent. After they remark on their new looks, they find a stone table in the center of the room that reads, "Your path winds out of time." That's when Billy notices a tarot deck. When he picks it up, the timer begins. He gives Agatha a tarot reading, which turns out to be deadly, as they soon realize there are swords in the ceiling that will fall if they get the reading wrong. Agatha rips the deck from his hand, saying there's no skill to tarot, and begins slamming random cards down. More swords fall from the ceiling, with the one nearly piercing Billy, who jumped out of the way at the last minute. Meanwhile, we flash back to Lilia and Jen. This appears to be moments after they disappear into the mud. As they're trying to find a way out, Lilia is confused and Jen is getting angry. Lilia is acting more confused than usual, and soon audiences are pulled into her mind as she asks Jen, "Which is it? Am I wispy or am I kooky?" You may remember this is what Lilia randomly asked Alice in the music studio in episode 4. As she says it, the scene flashes back to that moment. Then Lilia continues with the outburst as she says, "Alice, don't," and the scene flashes to the previous trial from episode 3, where Lilia randomly screamed, "Try to save Agatha," as they were brainstorming the challenge. Then someone asks Lilia, "What do you see?" Again, one of the coolest parts, we have a lot of these with Lilia for this episode, and it's all of her random sayings she does, and they throw them all together, and it is so cool, and we know exactly what they're all talking about now, which is what a way to write this show. And if there's ever a Wanda or a Scarlet Witch movie, Jacques needs to be the only one to write and direct it, because we're coming off of WandaVision and now we're about Agatha, and it is so brilliantly written and directed, and just how they plan, 8, 9 episodes in advance is just so damn cool. But it's not over yet. We still have some things that she said that we don't know what she's talking about right there at the end. So, let's see. Then someone asked Lilia, "What do you see?" And an old woman from the Renaissance era is speaking to a young girl. She answers in Sicilian, and the old woman replies, "You're traveling. How long has it been?" The next time the camera pans, Lilia is sitting across from the old woman, replying, "Centuries." This woman says she's giving Lilia her first lesson on tea leaves. When Lilia appears in the cup, she's transported back to Jen under the road. She gasps and Jen assumes she's confused again, but Lilia lashes out, insisting she's not confused. She accuses Jen of thinking she's old and senile, and Jen rebuttals by asking what she should see instead. The flow of time is an illusion, Jen. Most people don't realize that. She says, explaining that as a child, she experienced her life out of sequence. She would see flashes in her mind, and now it's happening again, and it's getting worse. She doesn't know why, but can only assume that means she's close to the end. Just then, she's pulled into the trial, dressed in the Glinda outfit with Agatha sitting on top of her. Turns out Agatha was pushing her down to save her from being impaled by another sword. Oh, and Jen is also there, dressed as the hag from the evil queen from Snow White. When Lilia lays eyes on Billy, she storms for him, pinning him against the wall. He profusely apologizes, explaining that he wasn't hiding his powers, as they were a surprise to him too. Lily realizes that he's reading her mind, and now that the sigil has been destroyed, she says she remembers Billy from the bar mitzvah. She puts aside her anger because she realizes that they need her help with the trial. Billy asks if she's the one who put the sigil on him, and she admits it was her, because she saw what would happen to him that night and knew he needed more time. Awesome. We finally figured out who did the sigil. I wasn't convinced it was her, but
right.
Again, being clairvoyant and everything, she can see far into the future here. Just then, she has a flashback again, going back to the last trial when things were going crazy in the cabin, and Lily yelled, "I hated this the first time." Then it flashes back to the first time they met her when she turned away from them to scream with her hands over her ears. Suddenly, she's back with the old woman, and she's still yelling. "Tell me about your life now," the woman demands, asking if she has a coven. Lily questions what for, since it has never worked out for her in the past. She asks the woman how to control what's happening, but the woman says her only task is to see. Then she's back in the tunnel with Jen, trying to figure out a way to escape being thrown off the road. Talk about confusing timeline here. Jen asks what Lilia's ability eventually stopped manifesting, and Lilia says it's because she wanted it to. She started ignoring it, and it went away. That's when they stumble upon Agatha and Billy, who are bickering as she and Jen fall through the bookcase. No sword falls on her this time as she approaches the table to observe the tarot. She sits across from Billy, ready to give him a reading. He needs to ask a question imperative to his existence on Earth. "Am I William, or am I Billy?" he blurts out, and the table stops spinning. "A very good question," Lilia says. Billy pulls a card, and it's the Magician. She lays it on the table, and still a sword falls. But Lily is convinced she's got it right. She continues as Billy pulls the sun, and then that's when the sword falls on Lily, and she screams, "Get off of me," just as she did in Agatha's basement in the second episode. She's back with the old woman asking, "What am I missing?" The old woman pushes her, asking Lilia why she's on her journey, to which Lilia answers, "To get my powers back." "Is it gone? Where did it go?" "This is not the true reason," the old woman goads. Lilia responds, "I'm a forgotten woman." So the woman says she needs to remember. Lilia then reveals that the old woman was once part of her coven, and due to her ability, she saw that her entire coven would die from a plague before it happened. Still, she couldn't change it. The old woman has made peace with death, but Lilia clearly has not. "When will it come for me?" she asks. "I was falling, and I will fall." The woman answers yes, but what will you do with your remaining time? All of a sudden, Lilia is hovering over Jen, covered in mud and being kicked off of the road. She explains the son of the Scarlet Witch kicked them off telepathically, and they need to find their way back. She tells everything to Jen, knowing that in a few minutes she'll forget all of it again. Just then, they hear the Salem 7 on their tail and hide. As they watch them glide past, Jen wants to see what they're up to, but instead to go after them, Lily explains they need to find Agatha and Billy for the next trial. Back in the trial, all the pieces click into place. Lilia realizes she is the Traveler, aka the Queen of Cups. She is empathetic, intuitive, and her voice to be trusted. She places it in the middle of the table, and all the swords stay in the ceiling. She throws down the Three of Pentacles for what's missing. The path behind is the Knights of Wands, and the path ahead is the High Priestess. Obstacles. Three of Swords. With barely any time left, she finally reaches the destination, and the scene cuts back to Lilia and Jen falling into the road once more. This time, Lilia encounters Rio. Except it's not technically Rio, it's death. Or Rio is death. Remember how the Ouija board spelled out death that was in the room with them in episode 4? Looks like this was not wrong after all. It cuts back to the trial room where the ceiling of swords is about to collapse on everyone, and Agatha takes the death card in the center of the table, saving them from being impaled. The ceiling retreats and the door to the road opens. Lilia tells them she's realized that Rio is death. Agatha admits she's known this all along, shrugging as she says, "What can I say? I like the bad boys." Come on. Like, the way this whole tarot card thing went, when she was putting them down, and every character was their tarot card representation, was so damn cool. Even the Rio death one that's been going around the internet lately too, with her scythe and everything, it's so well done. And the reverse tower of the boy, I mean, she even said it in episode, I guess the last episode, when Billy was getting his tarot card reading. And it's just so damn good, man. Oh, so well done.
Yeah. I wonder if Lilia, as a young girl, saw all these events. And maybe that's why she had that visceral reaction to Billy. Because she had a flashback to when she was younger and realized, this is that boy that I saw that starts my path toward my end.
Oh, man, it's the way it is written. This is another episode. I want to go back and rewatch this whole series again. But this is one of the episodes I for sure want to rewatch before Wednesday's next 2 episodes. Because I feel like there's things I've missed. The whole subway being an out for the road, but they stay on it just to help out Agatha and Billy. I mean, we're about to get some crazy stuff happening in these next 2 episodes, like without a doubt. So
I'm curious too, because Agatha tells Billy that she saw a body.
Mm-hmm.
The only body that we saw her see was the one from when she thought she was a detective.
Yep, in the forest.
Right. So, could that have been someone else and she's not remembering correctly?
Right.
Because why would Wanda's body have been there? She was never...
Unless
she left Westview.
All in her brain somehow. Kind of thing. Like, she felt her die, quote unquote, and then I don't know, and that's what that was her manifestation of it in her head. Because last episode, everything that we saw from the first one was all in her living room or from her time there. I don't think she actually left her house. So I'm not really sure, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but then why not show the face of the person?
That's to keep people guessing. That's that WandaVision mystery kind of thing.
I know the easy thing there is, well, they didn't want to pay Elizabeth Olsen to come back for just that.
For 2 seconds of a screen time.
But they're willing to use CGI for so much other stuff. You would think that they could have gotten someone who closely resembled her and then tweaked the features.
Oh, you bringing that up, I keep forgetting this is the lowest budgeted show for the MCU. Yeah. And this episode looked great. Everything about it did. Lilia ushers them out and back onto the road before locking herself back in the room, sacrificing herself for her coven. It seems that Salem 7 were lurking, and Lilia managed to lure them into the trial room where she flips the tower reverse card, which she mentioned out of context in episode 6, so it's upright, upheaving the entire room. It stuns the witches, sending them all flying as the room spins upside down, each falling onto a sword. Lilia holds onto the table to save herself, but eventually she lets go, allowing herself to fall. That's the scene we saw at the very beginning of the episode. The screen cuts to black, and then we see a young Renaissance-era girl running to begin her first lesson on tea leaves with the old woman in Sicily. So, they didn't mention this, but when Lilia pushes Agatha through the door, she says, "Agatha, when she calls you a coward, duck."
Yeah.
So I'm curious. No, she said, "Hit the deck." So I'm very
hit the deck.
curious to see what this is about. And it's obviously, I'm sure it's going to be Rio, or that it's going to be Scarlet Witch. So I'm very, very curious because, I mean, she did say she.
Mm-hmm.
But they also didn't mention this article. 2 of the Salem 7 did not get impaled on swords.
Right.
So
yeah,
we still have 2 out there.
We didn't see it.
Correct. So I mean, there's no telling if they actually did or not, but I like to believe that they're alive still, at least 2 of them.
Right.
So, oh man, God, I'm so excited for these next 2 episodes. Like it's been a long time since I've been this excited. And right before Halloween, what fun surprises are going to be in store for it?
It's going to be interesting for sure, because Jen's going to play a major role, I think.
Mm-hmm. If she doesn't die.
We've got the quote. Well, I mean, even if she dies, it's probably going to be.
Which is weird because we've already done her trial. So if you notice, each one of these people die on their trial, but Jen lived. So I'm curious about that one.
Is Jen Jen?
Is Jen? Oh, Chris. Oh, see, what a plot twist that would be. Yep. All right, let's talk about this. The Penguin Episode 5 recap and Easter eggs by Faye Watson on GamesRadar.com. Another great show. I can't believe we're eating so well with these TV shows as we are with these 2. After the Penguin took a detour into Sophia Falcone's past, Episode 5 brings the Batman spin-off right back into the present. Colin Farrell's Oz Cobb and Sophia are on 2 sides of a war for power as Gotham deals with the fallout of the murder of the Falcones. Adding to the mix more drug trafficking, another criminal family on the rise, and plenty of betrayal, things are seriously heating up as we pass the halfway point of this season. Alright. Oz Cobb is going underground in the latest episode of this one. We pick up where the gangster in the aftermath has been escaping the altercation outside the Iceberg Lounge. He burns his beautiful purple car as he and Victor kick off their new alliance. Their next target, the Maronis, in particular their son Taj Maroni, who the pair kidnap. Oz wastes no time heading into Blackgate Prison, either blackmailing Salvatore and Nadia, as here he finds out what's happened to the Falcones. Sophia is seen exiting the destroyed house as Chief Mackenzie Bach approaches her, suspicious about her involvement in the family massacre. It's revealed Johnny Vitti isn't among the dead, and Sophia plays ignorant about where he is. The police chief doesn't believe her at all, but without evidence, she's a formidable foe here. It's not long before we find out where Johnny really is. Sophia is keeping him underground in the family crypt to torture him. She's looking for untraceable cash and promises to let him go if he tells her where to find some. She tortures him with cold water as Johnny reveals what really happened to her mom. Isabella was going to leave Carmine on the night she died, taking the children with her. On the other side of town, Oz is happy about the news of the Falcones as he hides out with his men at girlfriend Eve Carlo's apartment with Taj Maroni in tow. Victor is given another task, though, looking after Frances, Oz's mom. He starts helping out with the dishes and vows to keep her safe while everything's going on with the Falcones or the Maronis. Back in Blackgate, Salvatore is stabbed by a prison guard on Oz's orders as Oz goes to meet Nadia with her son. He wants the shrooms to grow the drugs, which is what he's been negotiating for. Things go south quickly as a shootout ensues, but Oz has a sadistic backup plan as he sets both Nadia and her son on fire and they burn to death. Unfortunately, most of the shrooms are destroyed in this crossfire as well. Salvatore steals the keys to the prison and escapes, calling Oz to tell him it's the end of the road for him. "You're cooked," he warns him, before Oz reveals it's a funny choice of words, revealing how he killed his wife and son. Meanwhile, Sophia is enjoying her life as the head of the Falcone family when she receives a visit from Dr. Julian Rush. He wants to work with her, becoming part of whatever next that she's planning. Johnny Vitti is out and safe as Sophia reveals she killed all of the family, and with them, she's killed her father's legacy. Sophia Falcone is gone. Meet Sophia Gigante, or Gigante, or however they pronounce it. I'll get it right when they say
Gigante.
it. I'll get it when they say it for the next 20 times in an episode. As soon as Johnny raises a slight issue, she shoots him in the head. It's a new era for the crime family now. And that's not all either, as Salvatore and Sophia make a potentially devastating alliance, joined over their suffering in Oz's hands. We join our family, she suggests to him, with Oz as the villain. Victor is told to find Frances a place to hide, so takes her to his old neighborhood in Crown Point. She's brought her essentials, a gaudy-looking lamp, but Victor sees someone from his past and is a bit worried that they'll draw attention to themselves. The area brings back a lot of bad memories for Victor, and it turns out for Frances too. Meanwhile, Oz goes to his girlfriend Troyer to join him, but she will not go with him. The walls are closing in around him. At the end of the episode, Oz joins Frances and Victor at the apartment, where even his mother doesn't want him. What kind of man doesn't take care of his own mother, she asks him, before Oz hints to Victor that something happened to his brothers when he was younger. City took them, Oz says wistfully. It's not all doom and gloom, though, as of course, Oz has a plan. He brings Victor into the city's old trolley system where they'll make their new base, growing shrooms in hope of dominating Gotham's underground network. Awesome. So damn cool, man. This is like when they turned the light on, I was like, oh, we're about to go into like some straight gangster stuff. And I can't wait. But
yeah, it's going to be really, really good.
My biggest question, though, where's Batman? There's a lot that's happened in this city since the Batman movie. And I'm like, all right, so we don't even get like a hint or even a mention of him, like at all. So I'm kind of curious about that one.
Yeah, you would think, because we've had a couple of instances where characters have been watching the news, for instance. And you would think something would have been mentioned. I think they did when it was a clip of the flooding and the people being saved.
Right.
But we haven't gotten another mention.
Like not a mention. And I'm very curious. Along with Agatha, I'm sure we're going to see a mention or something of one of the Caped Crusaders in this next at the finale. I don't feel like we have to, but I would be surprised if we didn't, kind of thing. So, all right, great episode. Glad to be back with Oz. I loved the very first part of it where Oz and I just completely blanked on the kid's name. Victor. They have that nice little moment. He says, I'm all in, I'm with you, kind of thing. And like, okay, they're great. We're back to perfect. I was like, oh, Batman and Robin are back.
Yep.
Quote unquote.
So, do you think that we as the audience are getting played here? Do you think Sophia and Oz are really working together?
No, I don't think so, because of all the betrayal going on. Because I really do think she hates Oz because he's betrayed her twice now. One with telling her father about going to the journalist, and two, working with the Maronis to kill her family. So I think she's going to have this whole revenge arc soon. And I think we're getting real close to it. But like we've got 5 more episodes, and I'm very curious to see where we go from here.
Yeah, because I don't think we've gotten a word on whether they're going to do a second season. So I don't know if they're going to lead in.
Could you imagine them doing a kind of like The Boys and Gen V, where you have the Batman movie, Penguin is the sequel series, the next Batman movie, and then whatever villain starts to rise up from that movie, we get their season. Not necessarily be the Penguin, but like Joe Chill or something like that as Poison Ivy as the next little show kind of thing. But I like how the Penguin works because it's mainly like a political gangster drama.
Yeah, I was going to say I would be okay with a season 2 that just focuses on Sophia building her empire.
Yeah.
And I'll say about this episode, you knew Salvatore wasn't going to die because they just showed a quick shot of him getting stabbed. They didn't stick with it.
Right. Didn't see a body.
I love Clancy Brown and pretty much everything he turns up in.
Absolutely, for sure.
And he's doing a fantastic job with this character.
And I'm just glad this isn't the last we see of him either.
Right.
Because it's going to be so good. Listen, I want to talk about this next show. a little bit. Superman and Lois. This is season 4, episode 4. Did this seem like an extremely long episode to you?
It did seem like it dragged a little bit.
Yeah. But there was a lot of stuff that I really enjoyed. But like previous seasons, nobody cares about Chrissy, so I just did not care about any of it.
It's I think if we were focused on her simply as Lois's co-worker and I think they co-own the paper together now. If she was just an investigative reporter, I think that would have more play. But the whole wedding thing, I could care less. That's not central to the story. I don't need it. You're wasting screen time we could have devoted to something else.
I do think this was the episode that was straight a sign-off for these two characters. I do not think we'll see Kyle, the younger daughter, or Chrissy ever again. I do think this is it. Which
I'm good with that.
You did notice the younger daughter though, right?
Yeah.
They did not talk to her one bit. She was in the dancing scenes, and she was taller than her sister, but that was it. I was like, huh. I really thought they would have just kind of written her off, but
they brought her back. Now I could see them bring Chrissy back because she is still working at the paper. So, and I could see Luther killing her because she gets in the way, and then it becomes like this other emotional thing because she's pregnant.
Right.
So she loses the baby too. And yeah.
Oh, this was an interesting episode. It started off really strong. And I was like, oh God, we are running. Because we still have 6 episodes left of this. So I said, we're doing what I thought they should do. We're going to soapcentral.com. This is written by Pramila T for the recap. Here we go. Episode 4 confirmed the return of Superman by replacing its missing heart with that of General Sam Lane's, only after enhancing it with the serum made from Superman's blood in last episode. The episode jumps 2 weeks after the Kryptonian flies back to the Kent family at his home. While he is shown to be still recovering from what happened, it's also kind of clear that Clark may never be the same as he was before the transplant. As he collapses while flying alongside Jonathan, it becomes clear that since General Sam's 60-year-old heart was not as strong as the Man of Steel's own Kryptonian heart, it is difficult for him to handle the kind of pressure he could before the surgery. Very, very cool scene that was very reminiscent of season 1 with him and Jordan doing the little flying training. And you still tell it was in front of a blue screen, which is fine. But when he said, pull up, and he just flies straight through it. He says, or just straight through, dealer's choice. And they made a lot like a little quippy, nerdy pop culture lines here too. I was like, oh, this is a genuine son and father kind of like conversation of them just messing around. So it was very cool.
Clark can be more relaxed because Jonathan's more of a natural.
Yes, and you could tell, and it's so great about Tyler Hoechlin's face. He acted that out too. When he was flying, you could see his face like, oh, he is much better than he thought he would be. It's completely different from Jordan here. Yeah. And I also thought Jordan was not going to be in this episode at all, besides the yelling from the upstairs that we heard, but then he eventually was. But that's a different time. Besides the revival of Clark, episode 4, A Perfectly Good Wedding, also focuses on the storyline consisting of Chrissy and Kyle's wedding that was set up earlier in the show last season. This storyline helps to get a better understanding of Chrissy's character as her mother is introduced with whom she shares a complicated relationship.
Can I just say one thing?
Yes.
I completely forgot about her telling him that she's pregnant or that they got engaged.
I had no... when all this happened, I was like, oh, I vaguely remember that. I'm glad I'm not the only one, because I was like, I just don't care. I love the Kyle character. Chrissy Beppo just does not make sense here.
No.
Chrissy's mother is worried as she believes, just like herself, her daughter's also not ready for marriage and is only doing it because she's pregnant, as she did while she was pregnant with Chrissy. While not being exactly right, Chrissy's mother turns out to be correct regarding Chrissy's apprehension about the marriage. She runs off on her wedding day, leading Lois to find her. The two of them then have a heartfelt conversation, and Chrissy reveals that she's felt pressure to marry Kyle since she was pregnant. She says that though she would really like to know him further, she would like to do so without having to get married. Kyle ultimately understands her perspective, and while the wedding is called off, they do celebrate as a testament to their love for each other. Awkward. Listen, the Coach Gaines was a completely different actor. I don't know if you caught on to that.
Yeah.
We've only seen him like 3 times, though, but it was still a different actor. Last episode showed Jonathan gaining his powers, and in episode 4, more of his powers and abilities are explored, underlying a potential young superhero. One scene shows Clark guiding Jonathan in the air, showing he has already mastered the art of flying. Moreover, he has his father's physical resilience as well, since he's able to fly through the side of an ice wall without much difficulty. This episode also shows Jonathan being resistant to fire, being able to use his ice breath. However, while being on his first superhero-esque activity, Jonathan needed to be saved by Superman. To save his son, Superman comes out of hiding. This incident highlights the fact that because of his lack of experience and lesser control over his powers, Jordan may be the better between the two of them when it comes to fighting. Or here, I say here, heroing. I don't want to say fighting, because they hadn't really fought anybody. Jordan, on the other hand, decides to take a step back from being a superhero. At the end of this episode, Jordan gives the Superboy suit given to him by General Lane to Jonathan. While this shows to be a kind of brotherly gesture, it also proves to be worrying in the light of the previous incidents. This episode shows Jordan still struggling with his guilt over his inability to save his father by using his powers. Since Superman donned his cape and went out to save his son, his actions came with their own set of consequences. At the end of the episode, we see Lois's phone lighting up with notifications from various outlets mentioning the sighting of Superman at the Metropolis Mall. This implies that it will no longer be possible for the Man of Steel to continue to be in hiding, and Lex will now surely be back for him. I thought it was a decent episode. If you cut all the wedding bullshit out, it would have been even better. Like we could have put a little bit of budget to something else. I did like all of the Kyle and Clark scenes here. Mainly the grill one, where they're like, "Oh, I've got everything ready." The grill, I plugged the grill in, and Kyle goes, "Wait, where?" He goes, "Oh, inside." And he got very serious. He's like, "Show me." And it was very good. Clark being the nerd he really is, and the geeky guy, and Kyle being like the man's man, and them bonding over that and cooking. And he's like, "Oh, it's not actually does not have that bad of a flavor." And it's very cool to see that. And they called him the super best man. I was like, "Oh, that's a dumb," but I loved that line. It was super cheesy, but I was like, "Oh, that's really good." So
I did like that before Jonathan goes to try and save the people in the fire, we get a mention that he's been training as a firefighter. So
yes, because another throwaway from what season 2, I guess, and early season 3 of him being a firefighter in training. So, and I mean, Jordan was like, "This is the perfect save for you," which I don't know why everything happens in Metropolis, but a giant fire. But I guess it's the whole supervillain. Very cool of Superman, that whole scene, just to walk up and destroy the cannons just by blasting him. That dude is for sure dead, though, because he got blasted and hit hard. So I'm like, all right, Superman, that's another death on you here. So, you know, it's to each their own.
No one will miss him.
No. That very throwaway character I don't even know the name of. All right. It is time for our Heroes and Douche Canoe of the Week for all 3 of our shows. Let's do heroes first. We've got Lilia for which you can say for doing it for centuries now. Well, I guess several episodes of saving lives, while sacrificing her own to save her coven. The Penguin, again, not really a heroic episode here. No, not trying to think through everything. I don't know how there was any hero here. Superman and Lois. You could say Superman. You could also say Jonathan. And you could actually say I wouldn't say the writers, because they made us suffer through whatever that wedding was. Yeah. I'm okay with Lilia.
I was going to say, I think it's her.
Which Lilia here or Agatha all along has put up a lot of all along. So I was updating the docket. A lot of characters for heroes. We got Jen, the Woos, and then now Lilia. So just nice. All right, douche count and douche canoe. Let's start with the penguin. Not really Sophia.
No.
I mean, you could say Oz for lighting the sun and Mother on Fire. Which,
yeah, you could also say his mom for what she said to him.
oh, God, that's a great one.
And then who was what was the other one that I was the girlfriend, right?
Oh, yeah, for not sticking with him and everything.
Yeah.
It's always real easy to pick something from the penguin for douche canoe.
Yeah.
Agatha all along don't really have one.
No, not really.
I don't think there was anybody dickish here. It was like just a bigger reveal of what's been going on in the background kind of episode.
Mm-hmm. Now I'm sure we'll have a good candidate after the finale.
Oh yeah, there's no way we don't. I think Agatha's going to screw something up potentially, or I don't know. Maybe the Scarlet Witch becomes the villain again. Who knows?
Or Mephisto makes an appearance.
Oh, there's no way they just throw that random line out there for that one. Superman and Lois didn't really have a douche canoe either. I mean, you could say the writing team for making us sit through that episode. But, what's his mom's? What's Oz's mom's name?
Oh God.
Penguin, mom name. Penguin's mom, Gotham. Gertrude Kappelput. Gertrude.
Gertie.
Old Gertie here. I'm down for Gertie.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put her as Gertrude Cobblepot though.
So we know who it was.
Yeah. So I'm just like, who was that again? Gertrude Cobblepot, the penguin. All right, sir. That is it for our TV. We've got a big episode, big week coming up for this.
Yeah, it's going to be a really big week. Penguin's picking up steam. Mm-hmm. Superman and Lois. Hopefully, we'll leave the wedding stuff behind.
It looks great from the preview that I saw. I try not to watch the preview for the next episode just because I like to be surprised. But it's Lex Luthor finding out Superman's back alive.
And then the double episode finale for Agatha.
Mm-hmm.
That's gonna carry the week. And the fun thing, because that drops on Wednesday nights.
Mm-hmm.
So the fun thing for me is after Wednesday night, I'm off for a week.
Oh.
So I'll just get to come in and just kick back and watch.
Relax and enjoy a great movie. A great show. It should be 2 hours. We're still supposed to get like a Death in Agatha flashback scene. But there's no way, because there's so much to cover, there's no way it's going to be a whole episode or even half an episode. So I'm curious to see how that works.
Yeah. All right. So movies. Have you watched anything else?
No, I've still been trying to watch Let There Be Carnage because, of course, the greatest film of this year that came out, Venom 3: The Last Dance, and I need to catch up before I watch it again or watch it.
So I saw a non-spoiler review of The Last Dance. And the person that reviewed it, not a fan.
It's, if you go in just enjoying the movie or like just realizing what they are, you'll be fine. That's what everything I've seen, like BD and then Killian, they're like, if you know what the Venom movies are. If you're going in for just a good, dumb, fun movie, then you'll love it. If you're going for something serious, like an MCU type movie, you're not going to enjoy it because that's not what it is. That's not what it's supposed to be. So,
yeah.
Which is what I'm all about.
So I know one of the things that they mentioned, and I'll be very, very vague, was the way the villain comes across.
From what I've seen, it's more of an introduction, and they're setting up the Sinister Six kind of thing. From what I've
Okay.
seen,
Yeah.
which is good
So
because that's Norman Reedus, and I'm like, okay, that sounds right. All right.
yeah. All right. Well, I watched a couple of other movies this week. I started off with The First Omen,
Ooh.
which came out this year. It's the prequel to the original Omen film, kind of showing us, because the original Omen film, we learn about Damien's existence. We find out that they swapped the babies,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but we don't know what occurred. This film sets up how Damien came to be born
Oh.
and what all was going on. And um, it's not being spoilery to reveal that there are people, there's a segment within the Catholic Church in the film that believe the church needs to gain influence again. And the way they plan to bring the church's influence back is to give people um, a villain
I mean,
to to need the church for, and so they decide to bring the son of Satan into the world so that it'll bring people back to the faith.
it's not. I mean, I don't think it's abnormal or wrong. I think that
It,
well, not wrong. That's a good plot to
yeah,
do.
yeah, especially in this day and age, right?
Yeah.
With everything going on. So anyway, uh, but it was I liked it. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5,
Hmm.
which for a prequel is pretty strong. Sometimes those are very hit and miss.
Yeah.
Uh, I also watched The Burbs, which I've seen countless times over the years. Tom Hanks, Carrie Fisher, Bruce Dern, Corey Feldman. I think it was '89 when this came out. And this little neighborhood on a cul-de-sac, and they have the strange neighbors who move in, um, called the Klopeks. And everyone starts thinking the worst of them because they're so different. And near the end, things kind of hit another gear. And I won't spoil it, but it's definitely a good movie. It's a fun watch. It's not too terribly long. I gave it a 4 out of 5
Hmm.
on Letterboxd. And then, kind of in the spirit of a movie we had last week, I watched Abbott and Costello Meet the Killer, which stars Boris Karloff. And that also is one I've seen a few times. I used to have the VHS back in the day. That's how old I am.
Man, VHSs. What a time.
And that I also gave a 4 out of 5. So,
Hmm.
but that one, Bud Abbott's a hotel detective, and Lou Costello's the bellboy, and murders start to occur in the hotel.
Oh.
So, fun stuff. Some funny moments in there too. All right, let's get to our films that we watched for this week. We're going to start off with Jaws from 1975. Now, this actually is considered the first summer blockbuster. It came out in June of 75, runs 2 hours and 4 minutes. It had a budget of $9 million, which was a
All
pretty
for
good
the
budget.
shark.
Probably a good bit of it, but that's a pretty decent budget for 1975.
Mm-hmm.
Its box office was 476.5 million.
And count. Well, I mean, I don't want to say and counting because that's the theatrical release.
Right.
But I mean, could you imagine how much this movie's made?
Right.
Just period. So
All the physical media sales, and
mm-hmm.
directed by Steven Spielberg, um, music by John Williams. I mean, starring Roy Scheider. Richard Dreyfuss is in this. Robert Shaw. Um, yeah, just a movie that the way Psycho made people afraid to take a shower, this made people afraid to go in the water.
Not wrong at all.
It's just. Um, so we'll get right here to the plot. On Amity Island, a summer resort island off the coast of Long Island, a young woman goes for a late-night ocean swim during a beach party. An unseen force attacks and pulls her underwater. Her remains are found washed up on the beach the next morning. After the medical examiner concludes it was a shark attack, Police Chief Martin Brody, which is Roy Scheider, newly hired after moving from New York City, closes the beaches. Mayor Larry Vaughn persuades him to reconsider, fearing the town's crucial summer economy will suffer. The coroner, apparently under pressure, now concurs with the mayor's theory that it was a boating accident. Brody reluctantly accepts their conclusion until a young boy, Alex Kintner, is killed at a crowded beach. A bounty is placed on the shark, causing an amateur shark hunting frenzy. Quint, Robert Shaw, an eccentric and roughened local shark hunter, offers his services for $10,000. Consulting oceanographer Matt Hooper, which is Richard Dreyfuss, examines the girl's remains, confirming an abnormally large shark killed her. The scene with the kid dying, because the girl, it happens at night, so there's not a lot that you really see, which probably saved a little bit on the budget. You don't see the shark, and that's one of the things this movie did so well, is you don't see the shark a lot. You don't get a lot of footage of the shark. You might see a tip of the fin or something like that. But these early kills, the shark's not even visible. And when it gets the kid, you see the kid start to flail, and then boom, there's blood everywhere in the water. And it's like at that point, I know it. Some people would say save him, but he's just let him go.
Yeah.
Because the bottom half of his body was probably gone. When local fishermen catch a tiger shark, Vaughn declares the beach is safe. A skeptical Hooper dissects the tiger shark and, finding no human remains inside its stomach, concludes the killer shark is still out there. While searching the night waters in Hooper's boat, Hooper and Brody find the half-sunken boat of Ben Gardner, a local fisherman. Hooper dons a scuba suit and goes underwater to check the boat's hull, where he finds a large shark tooth embedded into it. He accidentally drops the tooth in fright after encountering Gardner's corpse. Vaughn dismisses Brody and Hooper's assertions that a great white shark caused the deaths and refuses to close the beaches, allowing only increased safety precautions. On the 4th of July weekend, tourists pack the beaches. The shark enters a nearby lagoon, killing a boater and coming close to killing Brody's son. Brody then convinces a guilt-ridden Vaughn to hire Quint. Despite initial tension between Quint and Hooper, as well as Brody's fear of the ocean, the three head out to sea on Quint's boat to hunt for the shark. As Brody lays down a chum line, the shark suddenly appears behind the boat. Quint, estimating it's 25 feet long and weighs 3 tons, harpoons it with a line attached to a flotation barrel, but the shark pulls the barrel underwater and disappears. At nightfall, Quint and Hooper drunkenly exchange stories about their assorted body scars. One of Quint's is a removed tattoo, and he reveals he survived the attack on the USS Indianapolis, during which many U.S. sailors were killed by sharks. The shark returns, ramming the boat's hull and disabling the power. The men work through the night, repairing the engine. In the morning, Brody attempts to call the Coast Guard, but Quint, obsessed with killing the shark without outside assistance, smashes the radio. After a long chase, Quint harpoons the shark with another barrel. The line is tied to the stern cleats, but the shark drags the boat backward, swamping the deck and flooding the engine compartment. As Quint's about to sever the line to save the boat's transom, the cleats break off. The barrels stay attached to the shark. To Brody's relief, Quint heads toward shore to draw the shark into shallower waters, but the overtaxed engine fails. As the boat takes on water, the trio attempt a riskier approach. Hooper suits up and enters a shark-proof cage, intending to lethally inject the shark with strychnine via a hypodermic spear. The shark viciously attacks the cage, causing Hooper to drop the spear. While the shark destroys the cage, Hooper escapes to the seabed. The shark leaps onto the boat's stern, subsequently devouring Quint. Trapped on the sinking vessel, Brody shoves a scuba tank into the shark's mouth and climbing onto the crow's nest, shoots the tank with a rifle. The resulting explosion kills the shark. Hooper resurfaces, and he and Brody paddle back to Amity Island, clinging to the remaining barrels. End of film.
So this is one that I watched for the first time going down to Destin with my family as a teenager.
That's a perfect time to watch.
Yeah, I mean I think it's the best time, and I will never forget the fear I had of the ocean when we got there. I was like, I'm not going anywhere knee deep or deeper than knee, and I mean and I had flashbacks every time of watching this. When I watched this of that time, it's just a great film. And I don't think when they made the movie that they expected it to be as good as it is, because it's a classic. It's one that I feel like you have to watch every summer as well. Mm-hmm. And it's just a good movie. I gave this 4 stars out of 5. It's just one of those very good classics. The kill scene at the end is very iconic. I mean, it's one you can just show a picture of it and everyone's like, oh, that's from Jaws kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And I mean, at the beginning of the movie, like you were saying with the night scene, and you don't know what's killing them. It's very cool. I just I love that horror-y, action-y, could be real life kind of film.
Yeah. This is not something where there's a supernatural take on anything. This could happen. We hear about shark attacks in the news now. Mm-hmm. And it's not unusual to think that if one happened to get the girl, and now it's tasted human meat, it's tasted human blood, it wants more.
Yep. They're just hungry. It's all they are.
Yeah, and it's gonna look for those opportunities. Of course, you get the famous line, right? You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Yep.
But this is just, like you said, it's appointment viewing for the summertime. You have to watch this movie in the summer.
Yep.
It's not typically an October watch, even though it is kind of classified a horror movie or a thriller. It's more of a summer movie to check out, because that's when it takes place, and it's perfect for that time of year, especially if you are going to the beach mm-hmm. or anything like that. I think the killing of Quint kind of has, in a way, it's kind of one of those Final Destination type of kills, right? Like, he talks about having been on the boat and surviving the attack on the Indianapolis.
Yep.
And where a lot of other people died by being eaten by sharks. And it's almost like death said, you weren't supposed to get away, and you are going to get eaten by a shark.
Mm-hmm. It's like Final Destination kind of stuff.
Yeah. So I don't know, it's an interesting little spin within the movie. I gave this 5 out of 5.
Ooh-wee.
This is a favorite, because you can just kind of put it on and enjoy it.
Right.
Did Jamie watch this one?
No, she watched Craft with me.
Unbelievable.
I know she's got to go.
Yeah, she's. I'm disposing of her in fantasy football this week. So
well, it's good. Someone's got to, because it wasn't me, and I'm tired of listening to her brag about all this nonsense. How great she is.
Yeah, I thought this would be right up her alley to watch this, but okay. So you want to go on to The Craft?
Let's do it.
The Craft, 1996. They call it a teen supernatural drama, horror film here. So
I get it.
I get it, but I think it's just it. To me, it feels like a film where it just happens to take place with some people that are in high school.
Right.
Came out in 96, 101 minutes. It's a good runtime. It could have been too long had they added anything to it. $15 million budget, $55.6 million box office.
I went to Skeet Ulrich, by the way. So
Yeah, Nev Campbell
Nev
as
Campbell,
well.
yeah.
So, Robin Tunney, Fairuza Balk.
Fairuza Balk, I wasn't expecting for this.
She stole the show in this movie. They did release a sequel. I've never watched it though. It came out in 2020.
Oh, really?
Called The Craft Legacy. I'll check it out probably at some point. Sarah Bailey, a troubled teenage girl with unusual abilities, moves from San Francisco to Los Angeles with her father and stepmother. At her new school, she befriends a trio of outcast girls who are rumored to be witches. Bonnie Harper bears burn scars from an auto accident. Nancy Downs lives in a trailer with her mother and abusive stepfather. And Rochelle Zimmerman is a black student who's subjected to racist bullying by a group of white girls. The girls worship a powerful earth deity they call Manan. Yeah, Christine Taylor, who would go on to marry Ben Stiller and be in a number of movies with him along the way. What was the other one that she was in that was...
Dodgeball.
Yeah, but there was another one I was thinking of that she was in that...
The Wedding Singer?
Was not a Ben Stiller movie. Yeah, maybe it's the...
She's been in a lot.
She has, but there was one in particular that...
Dodgeball, Elementary TV series, Zoolander, 1 and 2. Played in a bunch of like Disney Channel stuff.
Yeah. The one I'm thinking of will probably come to me. But she's the main white girl that's being racist towards Rochelle.
Oh, I did not make that connection. I guess I'm not used to her being that young.
Yeah.
Huh.
So that's her, which she kind of does get what's coming to her.
She gets exactly what's coming to her.
Popular jock Chris Hooker, which is the Skeet Ulrich character, shows interest in Sarah, which she reciprocates. When Bonnie observes Sarah levitating a pencil in class, she and the other outcast girls are convinced she can complete their coven as the fourth.
Nobody else seeing this? I mean, nobody else.
Yeah.
And this girl's standing the pencil like on top of if I was in school, I'm like, oh yeah, that's kind of cool. And then she starts spinning it, and that's when we're like, okay, yeah, you're a witch. There's something going on here.
Yeah, but I think no one else noticing was their way of kind of saying, when you're the new kid, no one pays attention to you.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Completing an air, water, earth, fire circle and making them all powerful. As the girls walk home from school, Sarah is harassed by a vagrant who had earlier tried to scare her with a snake when she moved into her new home. When the vagrant chases after Sarah, he's immediately hit by a car. The girls believe their combined will caused it to happen, which strengthens their bond. It's also revealed Sarah once attempted suicide. Yeah, you even notice that when she's spinning the pencil, you can see the scar clearly going down the wrist, not across.
Right.
They got that detail right.
Yes, I mean it's very unfortunate, but that is the way to do it if you're serious, kind of thing.
Yeah. After a date with Chris, Sarah's upset that he spread a false rumor that they had sex. Sarah cast a love spell on him. Rochelle cast a revenge spell on racist bully Laura Lizzie. Bonnie, how can you bully someone when your name's Laura Lizzie?
Right. I mean, you've got no rat in the race here.
No, that's like trying to be a bully when your last name's Putin.
Right.
Like, come on, dude. Bonnie cast a spell for beauty, and Nancy a spell for power. The spells are successful. Chris becomes infatuated with Sarah. Bonnie's scars on her back miraculously heal. Laura begins losing her hair, and Nancy causes her stepfather to have a fatal heart attack, enabling her and her mother to cash in on his life insurance policy and move into a luxurious high-rise apartment. Let's be honest, no one was going to miss that guy.
Not one.
Not one person. So, hey, more power to her.
Right.
Nancy becomes power hungry and encourages the others to join her in a rite called Invocation of the Spirit, despite being warned against the spell by Lirio, the owner of a local occult shop and practicing witch. Upon completion of the spell, Nancy is struck by lightning. The following morning, the other girls see Nancy walking on water with beached sharks and other dead animals littering the shore. In the days that follow, Nancy becomes increasingly devoid of empathy and engages in risky behavior that endangers her life and those of others. Yes, when it shows her walking on water, it's a cool little cutscene because you see the other girls waking up, you see them notice it, and you're just watching them watch her without seeing what they're looking at.
Mm-hmm.
And then it cuts over to her, and she's just strolling along the water.
Just like Jesus, just walking through.
Yeah, just having at it. And then she starts running. Well, technically, she's not running red lights, but she's making them turn green
Mm-hmm.
right before she gets to them. And almost causes a wreck. The spells the other girls cast eventually lead to negative consequences. As Bonnie becomes aggressively narcissistic, Rochelle finds Laura traumatized by her baldness, and the obsessed Chris attempts to rape Sarah after she rejects his continual advances. To punish Chris, Nancy uses a glamour spell to disguise herself as Sarah and attempts to seduce him at a party. Now, this part and the part that we first see the glamour spell shown off by Sarah, it's the only two times that I feel like the CGI was crappy looking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm right there with you with that one.
Because we first see Sarah change her hair color, and it just did not look real.
Mm-mm.
And I get they're not going to dye her hair for one scene for a few seconds, but it looked very, very, very fake. And then when you have Sarah show up, basically, um, because Nancy's turned into her as far as Chris is concerned, um, it looks bad again.
Yeah.
It's just not, I don't know. But it was also 1996, and this was new technology, so.
Had to use what you had to use.
Yeah. She's interrupted by the real Sarah, who pleads with Nancy to leave with her. Upset at being deceived, Chris accuses Nancy of jealousy, angering her. She uses her power to kill Chris by throwing him out of a window. Sarah unsuccessfully attempts a binding spell to prevent Nancy from doing more harm, and the coven turns on Sarah. The trio invades Sarah's dreams, torment her with visions of swarms of scorpions, snakes, rats, and insects, and they make her believe her family's died in a plane crash. The coven then tries to drive Sarah to suicide. Although initially terrified, Sarah successfully invokes the spirit and manages to heal herself and fight back.
So
She scares off, yeah, yeah. She scares off Bonnie and Rochelle by showing them glamours in a mirror of Bonnie with her face scarred and Rochelle losing her hair like Laura. Sarah then defeats Nancy and binds her, preventing her from causing her harm forever. Bonnie and Rochelle, finding their powers gone, visit Sarah to attempt reconciliation, only to find she wants nothing to do with them, and that Manon took their powers because they abused them. They scornfully mutter that Sarah must have lost her powers too. Sarah then conjures a lightning storm and makes a tree branch nearly crush them. She warns them to be careful not to end up like Nancy, who's been committed to a psychiatric hospital, delusional, and her powers bound, strapped to a bed as she desperately insists she can fly.
what a great ending here, and everyone got what they deserved. I feel like, oh, we don't have powers either. You want to be friends with us? And
no,
yeah, absolutely not.
But the fact that Nancy still has hers, but she can't do anything with it.
Mm-hmm.
And just, first off, being bound to a bed like that would have to be horrific.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you saw the claw marks all over her face, too, where she was just scratching herself.
Yeah. So, yeah, everybody kind of got what they deserved. Sarah comes out of it. Had they made this movie 20 years later, there would have been a sequel the very next year.
Oh, it would have been greenlit a long time ago.
Following what Sarah was up to and all that. But They just didn't do that back then. They kind of left it like it was, and it becomes a cult classic movie, right? Became a big hit afterward. Didn't do badly at the box office. Um, but yeah, some of the people from this movie went on to a lot of other starring roles and things.
Mm-hmm.
Robin Tunney went on to The Mentalist, and she was also in Empire Records, I think the year before this, which, very good movie.
Brecken Mayer, who played Mitt, one of the little lackeys of Chris. He's in a lot of stuff. He's a big voice actor now. He's been in.
Yeah.
There's one big show that's going to bother me. Let me look at it real fast. He's in Clueless.
He was in Franklin and Bash.
That's the one I'm thinking of. Okay.
With Mark Paul Gosselaar.
Yep. Designated Survivor for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's been in a bit. There's a lot of famous people now from this film that I didn't realize were actually in this movie.
Yeah.
So
I gave this a 4 out of 5.
Ooh. Well, we're kind of not all over the board. I gave this 3.5. I thought it was good, just nothing crazy. And of course, Jamie, being who Jamie is, gave this a 5 out of 5. So it's given every one of her movies a 5 out of 5, apparently.
She's she's like a buddy of ours with fantasy, where he's like, "Give me a bangle."
Just give me all the bangle.
She's like, "Give it 5. Give it 5." She's like Oprah handing out cards to people.
Once everything's a 5, are they really 5s? So
right,
that's just
they could just as easily all be 1s at that point.
Right. You just don't know. But that's not a bad year. I'm really excited to rank all these movies. Here in maybe next week, maybe 2 weeks, we'll see. But because it's a God, what a show. What a movies we watched this year. A lot of that's what I was telling our buddy Anthony and Jen last night, that I love doing this because I find my new favorite Halloween movies every single year of ones that I just have to watch. And look at the way that X did on all 3 of us. I have to watch the prequel. Now we're going to watch the sequel. And the Candyman, The Fog. I have not given anything a 5 this year. Huh. That's weird.
What's wrong with you?
I don't know. A lot of 4.5s. But not a lot of
Well, 5s. Look, you kind of came to the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise last year, Friday the 13th this year.
The Fog. A lot of good classics this year. The Thing, The Fog, Terrifier, The Candyman, Invasion of the Body Snatchers. So there's a lot of good ones that I have not seen that are classics that are going to be big every year to watch. Like I already want to watch The Thing again. I really enjoyed that movie.
It's a good one, man. We kind of need at some point. Maybe we'll throw it into the list next year. Because they did a sequel. Or not really a sequel. It was I hate calling it a prequel because it just showed what happened at the other station before the events of the movie.
Oh, before they just went to the dogs.
Yeah, and then The Thing from Another World, which is is it 50s, 58-ish, I think, is a film that movie was based on. So we kind of could go back and watch that at some point.
Oh, what did I watch? Oh, it was a TikTok. Oh my God. I meant to send this to you. Once I find it again, I'll send it to you. But it's like, what if Scream happened today? And it's a big guy who's like a big horror fan. And he sees his girlfriend outside. And one of the questions Ghostface asks is The Thing an original? And like he did the whole little answer. It's actually not an original. There's a prequel and there's also a sequel, but it's all based on a book, so it's not really all original, anyways. I laugh. It's good. What I'm saying doesn't do it justice. So once I find it again, I will send it to you. So.
Gotcha. Yeah, definitely send me that.
Oh man, it's so good.
So next week we have Maxine.
Yes.
we're only going to do the one movie next week because we might include our rankings. Like you said, we might do those, but we're going to have 4 more hours of television to watch.
Yeah, I mean, we got a lot of screen time next week.
Yeah, we do, and plus, one night you for sure are going to be shut down because it's Halloween.
Mm-hmm. That's going to be an all-night endeavor.
Yeah, so
I can't wait though.
There's that. Hey, you know what you should do when this goes up on YouTube? In place of whatever you have that's going to show for you on the screen, you should put you in your Halloween costume.
I think I could do that. I could do like a little overlay of it.
Yeah.
Oh, nice little homage to this year's film.
Now I didn't get to make the party, but I have to ask: did you have anyone brave the mirror to try and conjure?
Oh, it actually it freaked out somebody because they didn't realize it was written in there. She went to the bathroom twice. Well, my friend Kristen. She went the first time because so what it is, I put red lights in as the light bulb. And then Jamie wrote in lipstick on the mirror, I know what you did last Halloween. And I guess she washed her hands and everything, didn't see it, then came back and saw it written on there. And she goes, I'm not going to lie, that freaked me out a little bit. So it's just stuff like that. It was, because I couldn't get to do what I wanted to do, even with my fog that I was trying to set up outside didn't work. But
yeah.
So, it wasn't too bad. You were definitely missed, though.
Yeah.
So,
I wish I could have been there, man.
We should have done just FaceTime to just walked around with you. And just set you in rooms or something like that. I said, could someone pass the cheese? Ladies and gentlemen, that is all for this week. We really hope you enjoyed this episode of the Nerdwide podcast. We will be back for our epilogue and our finale for Agatha All Along, but our epilogue for our Halloween Horrorthon of 2024. Let us know what your favorite movie was so far, so if we do the rankings, we could put it in the ranking for us as well. Don't forget to rate and review this on whatever podcasting service you do use, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for all of the goodies there. Social media, you can follow the Nerdwide account on every single social media site except for Truth Social, because you will never find any one of us there.
No.
But as always, that has been this week's episode of the Nerdwide podcast, and we hope you all have a great and safe Halloween, and enjoy some dots for me, please. Until next time, thank you for watching.
Later, guys.